It's beginning to look a lot like Christmas.
Oh, let's review.
We'll analyze the scene.
Sounds holly jolly to me.
Before it's over, let's begin.
Bum.
Bum.
Well, that's right, folks. Since the Christmas season is upon us, we thought the way to celebrate and get into the holiday spirit would be with some holiday reviews.
6 to be exact, selected and arranged for your Yuletide pleasure.
So silver up those bells, light the multicolored lights, and go out and build a snowman as we engage in some seasonal shenanigans. 2021. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, Dragon, we are back. We're about midway through. We've got like 3 more to go after this, right?
Yeah.
So we pretty much hit the halfway point. Woohoo.
Yeah,
all right.
We're halfway there.
So, Dragon, we are here tonight to discuss and break down a comic. Not just any Batman comic, Dragon. A Batman comic that is a kind of a take on A Christmas Carol, if you will. Now, Dragon, I want to say, it's funny. These kind of things, they can be tricky, like they can either come across as like really, really interesting, really groundbreaking interpretations of the original source material, or they could come across as like kind of like trite fan fiction. You know what I mean, Dragon? It's like there really is a fine line with stuff like this.
Yeah.
And Dragon, you know what? Dragon, I didn't like this. I loved it.
Oh.
See what I did there? The whole fake out. Like,
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, Dragon, this is honestly maybe like for my very limited kind of collective of what I have read of Batman. I mean, I think maybe Court of Owls might be second, but this is a definitive. It might be number one with a bullet for me, Dragon, almost specifically because of the art style, and then also because of the playing around with the meta contextualization of A Christmas Story. The ending, Dragon, I'm not even going to beat around the bush here. The ending made me weep. I got I got so into the father-son Tiny Tim story of it all. And this might be one of my all-time new favorite pieces of Batman media, Dragon.
Wow, you really like this. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It's a little cinnamon in your hot cocoa this holiday season, eh? All right. Little bat marshmallows. Okay. So yeah, Batman Noel, I've always thought it was like a really clever way to adapt A Christmas Carol. Take one of the most adapted stories and cross it over with one of the most adapted characters, Batman. It's kind of a no-brainer. It's kind of like, you got chocolate in my peanut butter. You got peanut butter in my chocolate. Look at the wonders that we do upon the world with this combination. So, it's like, how do you, and I love the real challenge the story approaches. How do you make an awesome hero like Batman, Ebenezer Scrooge? How do you do it? Well, simple answer. Criminal's perspective. Let's which Lee Bermejo, which I'll get into once I kind of illuminate some backstory here. Lee Bermejo, he excels at, kind of looking at the alternative perspective for a comic book story. So, yeah, it's very much, what the weirdest, now you've seen all of Batman the Animated Series, you're very primed and ready for this. I mean, to me, upon the reread on this, it really feels like Christmas Carol meets a very specific episode of the new Batman Adventures. It feels like a combination between Christmas Carol and Old Wounds, which was the big, Nightwing break, the whole, Dick Grayson, Robin breakup.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just more focused on Batman's side of that story.
It's kind of more focused on sort of the, what eventually led to the break, to the downfall of the Bat family, essentially.
Yeah, the downfall and also the reconciliation with the ending. So, yeah. So it's Batman kind of at his most cynical in regards to the mission at this point in his life. Again, per kind of that kind of Old Wounds kind of breakup, And yeah, the art's next level. It mixes very
The art
well.
style Dragon is just utterly like every page. I mean, I was like scrolling through it on my phone, but it was like one of the few times where I didn't really care about that. I was just like, no, this is gorgeous, and I don't care if I have to scroll through my phone. It's just, oh my god, it's just super photogenic art in like to the best degree.
Yeah, it's rather beautiful. I think it just goes to show, the Gothic architecture of Gotham City, which this guy really thrives at. I think really mixes well with the Dickensian setting, the Dickensian elements. It's like it's a marriage made in heaven.
Uh-huh.
All right, so let me give you a little background on this. So let me, you know all about Scott Snyder. Let me tell you about Lee Bermejo.
Okay, tell me.
So Lee Bermejo, this guy got a start in '97. I've met him actually. Nice guy, really nice guy. Like, not one of those, like, doesn't have a huge line or anything. He does really, he's doing artwork while he's talking with you. Nice guy. So Lee Bermejo, he got a start at Wildstorm, which was essentially, I think Jim Lee founded Wildstorm. This is before, now Jim Lee's like the head honcho at DC, essentially the editor in chief. I think that's still the case. Point being, Jim Lee kind of out of, like, I believe after probably after his Image comic days, or maybe like kind of towards the tail end of it. He starts up Wildstorm, which becomes an imprint of DC Comics. And anyway, so then eventually Lee Bermejo gets a start there. He's kind of in Jim Lee's good graces because of that, which kind of leads to how we get the book okayed. So he goes to DC and he does a few very key stories, some of the great stories. So he did the art on What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way, and this is the story that is the basis for Superman versus the Elite, the animated movie, which is great. Very much Superman dealing with people calling him out. It's like a cynical viewpoint, like, we should kill the criminals. Like, no, why do we have to be all edgy and dark? Basically, what Zack Snyder should have watched before doing his movies, but we're neither here nor there. So, big thing. Here's what made Lee Bermejo's name in comics. This is why he's like, he'll always be remembered. So, he teamed up with the writer Brian Azzarello. Now, these guys did kind of a series of books. Unfortunately, it kind of capped off at 2, but Noel is kind of the third in the trilogy unofficially.
Or if anything, Noel could be considered like an epilogue.
Yeah, there you go. Fair point. Yeah. I'm not saying that he and Ezra have worked together, but basically doing a story in this vein. They did these 2 books that were villain focused, and they're really good. The first one they did in 05 was Lex Luthor, Man of Steel. So it's like a Superman story from Lex Luthor's perspective. And it was the first time, for Bermejo and Azzarello's first time did like a perspective shift, and had that really impressive art style on full display. So this look kind of culminates. It starts in Luthor, Man of Steel. So people loved it. It's like, hey, do another one, do another villain, I don't know, maybe the Joker. So then you have the big famous Joker book from 2008, which comes out the same time as, well, The Dark Knight. And the big thing with this Joker story, Tiki, and it's kind of like which came first, the chicken or the egg, because they're probably
of course. I really do think they were synonymous with each other in some ways.
Because this Joker book was the first time in a long time, really, they gave Joker like the scar smile, the Heath Ledger smile made out of scars. That was a first year. So at the same year, you have these 2 ideas, and again the art on this book was gorgeous. And the big thing that factors in here to our story is this is when Bermejo and Azzarello come up with, hey, let's do it from the perspective of the henchman in relation to the Joker.
I mean, the art of this book I would describe as almost something like fucking like Norman Rockwell meets like Gothic Christian art, architecture or something like that. Does that make sense?
No, I don't know about the Christian thing, but yes, it does very much feel like kind of a Gothic. It very much feels like kind of a Gothic mix of Norman. It's like, what if Norman Rockwell went off the rails,
right? Right. Yeah.
It's like what if Tim Burton like kind of did a watercolor of Norman Rockwell? It's kind of like that almost.
That would be a way better style for Tim Burton to pursue than what he's currently pursuing.
Okay, we got a comment, LEB, which I believe is our dear honeybee.
Yeah.
Says hello. So yeah, so you see where the pieces are coming through here. Okay, so we do the henchman perspective, which basically gives us our narrator for this piece. So Bermejo, the artist, is kind of picking up tricks from his writing kind of partnership with the guy. So 2011 rolls around. That's our story here. He pitches Noel as his first. So this is Bermejo. Kind of the training wheels are off. The writer Azzarello is not on this book. It's Bermejo both doing the writing and the art. It's all one guy. And kind of doing his tribute to Batman's history as well as the history of A Christmas Carol. and it was released as a graphic novel, just all one book. And you
Yeah.
got to remember, 2011, year of Arkham City. So that's why everyone paid attention to this book, because we want something that looks like Arkham City. Well, this is the next best thing. This thing looks rather close to that, and
I
it's
mean,
rather
this is
good.
basically like Arkham City, like in the style of the Dickensian time period, but not in the Dickensian time period, like in canon. You know what I mean? Whereas it's using that time period as an aesthetic, and it's so trippy and cool and fun, Dragon, and creative how they pull it off.
Yeah, the Arkham games are very steeped in the Victorian Gothic aesthetic anyway, so people are very much have a taste for that in 2011. And this book comes out right after that game, so that's why this book really went down history. And this the main reason we're talking about it here. This year marks the 10th anniversary.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, and of course, I don't think it's much of a mystery. Hey, I'm not saying it's the only inspiration, but they do that Arkham Origins game, which, yes, I know is now like the main trilogy. But the point being, they do Arkham Origins, which is set at Christmas time, mainly because of Die Hard, but also Batman Noel.
I've heard a lot, kind of like a small fan resurgence for Arkham Origins over the past couple of years, Dragon.
I'm one of those fans. I really
people are kind of like a little bit like, their attitude is like, it's almost kind of like a Godfather Part 3 in a sense, where it's like, okay, it's obviously not as good as the other games, but it's still top tier though. Yeah. It's just not quite as top tier.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
All right, and that brings us to the end of a little deep dive here. So before we dive into this, LEB says, I guess I'm not much of a comics nerd.
Yeah, Dragon, would you like to give LEB just kind of like an elevator pitch for exactly what this thing is?
All right, so take one of the most adapted stories and cross it over with one of the most adapted characters. That is the Batman. It's essentially, let's celebrate the history of Batman, celebrate the history of A Christmas Carol, and it kind of meld it through this beautiful mix of kind of Gothic architecture meets the Dickensian era, and kind of have this artist who's done such a great job on all these books with kind of shifted kind of perspectives. Like, what if you did Christmas? How do you make Batman Scrooge? Let's do it through a henchman's perspective around the holidays, and maybe that henchman's name is Bob Cratchit.
I love that Bob already has like a connotation in Batman henchman lore.
And I love that, again, Bob, in this case, is very much a goon working for the Joker, so ipso facto, Bob the Goon.
Oh, yeah.
Cratchit's the Goon. It's all relative.
All right, so Dragon, narratively, this thing tricked me a couple times.
Yeah.
It tricked me, for one, with who Scrooge was going to be, because I was thinking that Scrooge was going to be Joker, because they kept building up this Scrooge is like, oh, you should see Scrooge. Just wait till you see him. He's a big jerk,
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a lot of problems. And I'm like, oh, God. And then I thought the reveal of Bruce Wayne is Scrooge. Spoiler alert. Dragon, it was a freaking brilliant adaptation choice.
I mean, if I were to, I gotta be honest, if I were to shorten just, I think, the charm of this, it's that, imagine if you took Christmas with the Joker from Batman the Animated Series, and at the top of that, they're making, Robin's making some Robin-y jokes of like, oh man, he could give Scrooge lessons. What if we took that gag, but we legitimized it?
Yeah, and LEB, there are a lot of adaptations of Christmas Carol, but I would not call this an adaptation of Christmas Carol. I would call it a twist on Christmas Carol, a riff on Christmas Carol, if you will. So it's not just getting Christmas Carol beat by beat, it's getting like a really interesting Batman story set around Christmas, sort of through the Christmas Carol framework, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's kind of Batman interpreted through Christmas Carol, I guess.
Uh-huh.
All right, so our setup here, again, we got our narrator, who is, we reveal at the end is the narrator, but still, it's like there's a little bit of a mystery who the narrator is per se, A little bit. I gotta tell you, at one point, when I read for the first time, I thought, could the Joker be the narrator? Could he by any chance? But no, makes great sense.
What's funny is, like, I was wavering back and forth between Alfred, the Joker, and Bruce. Which is like a wild combination of three characters, and it's interesting that there is a bit of ambiguity there.
Oh, there is for sure. It's a little bit of a mystery, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So let's see. So we have Bob the Goon, who in this case is the bag man for the Joker. He's going to basically run a money errand for him, drop the bag off, take the money, and vice versa. So he's telling his son the story of Scrooge and A Christmas Carol, but is paralleled to his experience he had this holiday season with Batman.
Yes, and not just Batman, but also counteractively Bruce Wayne.
Yeah,
Bruce Wayne is the theoretical Scrooge. Not Batman. Batman isn't the Scrooge. Bruce Wayne is the Scrooge.
Sure. So, yeah, I love just the idea of that's how you perceive that character as a Scrooge. When he's the hero, be from the alternate perspective and just seeing it from kind of a different viewpoint. So just the overall premise of like what the main story is, kind of like threaded through Christmas Carol is actually Batman is using the Joker's bagman Bob here. Kind of a low-level underling who's he's doing all this not because he's like, oh, I'm mustache twirly, I'm sinister, I'm naughty this holiday season. None of that. No, Bob, as you can probably guess, Bob Cratchit here. He's trying to. I don't even think they call him Bob Cratchit per se. I don't think the guy's last name is Cratchit again. Per like
I don't think we ever did get a Cratchit name drop. I think
which right. I think is smart. It was a good move if that's the case. So anyway, so our underling here. He's trying to raise money. He's trying to get money around the holiday season for his sick son, who really needs some help. And of course, his sick son, his name Tim, because why not? Mm-hmm. It's got to be little tiny Tim. He's a short kid. He's a little, short Tim. Let's call him. Anyway.
Okay, I'm just going to go on record and say that every single freaking time Tim shows up in a panel, Dragon, it just breaks my heart even more. And I just think this is such a warm and loving father-son dynamic. And it's a father-son dynamic that just gets put through like Bluthian levels of peril. And it comes out on the other side with a beautiful ending, a beautiful, happy ending. So Dragon, all those things are like checked by me. Like this really did feel Bluthian in its execution with that concept in particular.
I mean, you really feel for Bob in the situation that he's in here because it's very much like Connor from the Old Wounds episode. The poor guy's just this schlub is doing a job for the Jokers, and he's going home to his family. And in this case, it's even 10 times worse with the sick kid. And we just see how sad the situation is here, where Tim has this little tree. It's like a neighbor's tree. It's like more like a branch, and it's decorated with beer cans and one army man.
Uh-huh.
And the line that just kind of guts me with this is like, but asking his father, who is a criminal, Batman only hurts people who've done something bad, right, Dad?
Oh, man.
And, of course, him trying to extol the moral here of like, well, good people do bad things sometimes. And that's such a great idea, the complexity and the gray that is kind of fitting into our Batman story here. It's a great idea that Batman just not taking the night off, because he would never take a night off, because one night always makes the difference, because he can't take a night off. Again, parallel to Scrooge, who doesn't want to take Christmas off because he's greedy.
But then the thing about it is that the taking the night off, Dragon, kind of leads into sort of like the biggest ambiguity of this whole thing, which is like, was it all a dream? Was it not a dream? Like, what do you think? Is there a take that we can go by, or is there a definitive answer, or is it left to people's interpretations?
Yeah, it could be a story. It's possible.
Yeah. Because the way I saw it was kind of like I basically, Dragon, I saw it as like a night out, but like a night out that mirrored a Christmas story. Like, I don't think he was dreaming any of it, if that makes sense.
Well, neither do I. I don't think it's a dream either.
Okay. I'm glad we're on the same page with that, at least.
Oh, we are.
All right.
So anyways, the point being, so Batman is running with Bob here. He's going to use the Joker's bagman as live bait to catch the Joker before he kills anyone on Christmas. So on its face, it's like, okay, Batman's doing a good thing as he is wont to do. But here's what we got to factor in here. So this is Batman post the loss of Jason Todd. These are like the years in Gotham where he's losing his idealism, he's losing his compassion, he's inching closer and closer to the Frank Miller Batman. Mm-hmm. He's kind of he's endangering a man and his child, and basically kind of on purpose. He intends to scare the son straight so he doesn't
Yeah,
follow
that
in
to
his
me
father's
was like the
footsteps.
lowest of the low with Batman in this whole
Oh, yeah,
story was,
absolutely.
you know, like he knows exactly how much he's going to fuck up the family, but not only is he going to fuck up the family, he's going to like go out of his way to make sure that the kid is emotionally damaged in the process.
So I love that Batman at this because he's just reeling and feeling kind of this kind of this sense of kind of failure and loneliness after kind of getting Jason Todd killed by the Joker, and the fact that Joker's the bad guy and as I'm sure is not helping things, is just the fact that he's taken just the very idealistic kind of vow of a child, like I don't want this to happen to anyone else, and he's going to do that by any means necessary at this point without killing anyone, which is in this case I'm going to traumatize kids the way I was traumatized, only non-lethally, which again is just Batman certainly losing sight of himself here for sure. I mean, it's like he isn't crossing any lines, but it's shady and risky as all get out. It's kind of like taking the whole
I feel like this story could be interpreted as like basically like Batman being right on the line of going full-blown crazy Steve Dragon.
That's the thing. It's like it's right on the line of that too, and you can make
Would
the
you like to
argument. Well,
explain Crazy Steve for the kids in the audience?
all right, for the kids in the audience, the Crazy Steve is sort of a kind of a nickname for the all-star Batman and Robin Batman, who basically is like, what if a crazy homeless guy named Steve put on a Batman costume? Did the stuff he did in that story, which is
and that's the thing, Dragon. Like I feel like this is maybe why this Batman story speaks to me so much, is that this is the most off the reservation Batman that I've gotten, that still has not broken any significant codes and still gets reeled in by the end of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I was very compelled, and just again, I can't help but speak to the art style. I feel like the art style, like the best way I can describe the art style with this book is that it kind of just like drowns your eyes in the colors, like the way that it all just kind of like droops down through the big canvases of the city. You know what I mean? You know how your eyes are just constantly like going downwards as you like, you know, like there's these big like skyscrapers and stuff, like in the way the the way the shots are focused, it's always just kind of like you're looking up at it to a certain extent.
To me, yeah, you're right. You definitely feel the scope there. There's also almost like kind of like a reverse negative space thing going on, where it's sort of like the color. It starts off just very sepia and gray and like almost monotone, and then the color is kind of almost like a warm glow in places. It'll pop up.
I feel like once Superman shows up, that's like the big kind of like crescendo of the color.
Exactly. So Superman, like, there brings like a warm glow where it's like imagine just gradations that take shape. That's the best way I can kind of describe how the art style works. It's kind of gradations that the color seeps in because you're enamored in the story and it's kind of projecting itself onto a blank canvas. Almost. And it's that too. I think also like the little trick of the trade, it's a very simple thing. I think really helps it too. Snowfall in Gotham. It worked wonders for Batman Returns aesthetic. Wasn't a lot of story going on there, but again, very pretty picture. Snowfall in Gotham does help.
Honeybee says, I always find analysis of long-running pop culture characters interesting. And Honeybee, honestly, I think this one would be right up your alley, my friend. I really do. If you're into that kind of stuff. So Dragon, do you think it'd be kosher to post the link that you gave me in the video description?
I'm not I don't know, Tiki. That one might be we might get in trouble if we do that.
Okay, well, LEB, email the channel if you're interested in getting the link to this, because it's it's a social media conversation away. So if you're interested, just reach out.
Yeah, and again, it's called Batman Noel if you want to look into it. I mean, yeah, I'd say, would you recommend it worth owning?
Oh, I would absolutely recommend it, Dragon. Like I said, this might be the best Batman book I've ever read.
Oh, there you go.
It really might be.
Cool. So perhaps we should run through kind of our cast within or at least the parallels to the Christmas Carol characters.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Jacob Marley. This is a really good idea. Jason Todd, essentially the ex-partner, in this case the dead ex-partner, just like Jacob Marley.
I mean, perfect excuse to have like a ghost. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, just the whole framework of Batman just kind of like a ghost to Batman can be interpreted in so many different ways, and I feel like that really got the creative juices flowing with this thing conceptually.
Yeah, and remember, Batman, he's feverish. He has pneumonia this whole book, so he can't be
Oh
possibly.
God, and I want to talk to you about that too, because I feel like that was done in a way where it's like you really felt it, man. Like every time he coughed, you felt that cough. You were like, Batman, get inside, God damn it, warm up some tea.
It's like a little subtle thing. I don't know if you have this, because I always have this when I look at Lee Bermejo's Batman. He always looks uncomfortable in the suit.
Yeah.
You kind of feel
it. I'm not too familiar with his style, but for sure I got that vibe here.
Yeah, I mean, especially here it's like, again, what if you're in that suit and you always just feel a little uncomfortable because it's so realistic, you can kind of feel the discomfort, and it's like, oh God, if he has a cold and it's snowing out, that's surely not going to help things. So with Jason Todd here, of course, against the ghost aesthetic, but beyond that, I just love the idea here that he's on a similar. I think the idea is he's on a similar path that Jason Todd famously, he got darker, and him going darker and losing his optimism, his idealism in the field is kind of what got him killed by the Joker. At least that's the way we do the whole Red Hood story. That's how that goes. So the idea that, much like Jacob Marley, like, hey, I got greedy and I got selfish and I ended up dead, and you'll forge the chains in life and all that sort of stuff. It's kind of a similar idea. Like, hey, if you keep going down this path, you're going to end up like me, and I had a run-in with the Joker as well. So again, things are connected. The story in which you're building to a collision with the Joker and possibly becoming a lot like that guy, so am I.
Okay, the climax was super suspenseful. And Dragon, if anything bad happened to Tiny Tim, I was legitimately going to fucking lose my shit.
Yeah.
Like, I swear to God. Because what's great about it is that I feel like it's like both men in this situation are to blame, where it's like, obviously, Bob is to blame for getting associated with Joker in the first place, but Batman is to blame for literally using Bob to lure the Joker directly into the house. So I feel like it's kind of like a duel of the father figures, you know what I mean? Of like, oh God, like, if something terrible happens to this poor, innocent, sweet-looking kid, like, oh God. It was very suspenseful, Dragon, the way that the whole thing kind of like ramped up to that.
Absolutely. So,
all right, so obviously the Joker is the ghost of Christmas future. Who's the ghost of Christmas present, Dragon?
Well, the ghost of Christmas, we haven't talked about past, though, either.
Okay, I'm sorry. Let's double back. Ghost of Christmas past. I'm sorry.
Okay, so with past, and I love this, by the way. I love that Gordon facilitate. Gordon is not the ghost of Christmas past, but I like how we use Jim Gordon in our story here. He has like a dual role.
Jim Gordon is basically like the
he's the nephew.
Yes, the nephew. Thank you.
Well, here's the thing. He's the nephew, and I also would argue he's the nephew and Fezziwig.
Yeah, kind of a combination of the two, for sure.
I say Fezziwig because for the whole past transition, I love the transitions in this book. So I love how Gordon, like, okay, so we have a rooftop conversation, as we are wont to do, and basically he tips him off that, hey, you should go after Catwoman. She has a lead, and that's kind of like Fezziwig introducing Scrooge to Belle. But of course, the main role that Catwoman's playing in our story is Christmas Past.
Sure.
So again, the Catwoman segment of this book in the Christmas Past segment is very much the celebration of Batman's 80-year plus history, where it's and think about it, we take the two most classic Batman, the two first Batman villains, which are Joker and Catwoman, and rehab them in the story. So it's very much a catch-all.
Catwoman works in this a lot more than she works in a lot of other stuff for me, Dragon. I really feel like they nailed her dynamic here. It was short, it was sweet, kind of in and out. Like, all right, like that's the Bruce Catwoman dynamic. That's why the past of Catwoman still haunts Bruce to this day. Got it.
Yeah, and again, we're seeing, like, she longs for the Adam West years, where he used to dedicate whole nights to chasing me, man. What happened? It's like, where's the flirtatious chase?
We used to play, Bruce.
But you don't play anymore. Kind of, again, the whole God. Bell kind of parallels to Christmas. So I love, so of course, as with the past segment, of course, we have some great flashback art to kind of that '60s, kind of the early kind of Batman stories, with like the death traps and everything, and Catwoman like the purple dress of the olden days. I love that as Batman gives into the chase, and again, much like the Scrooge arc, as he inches closer to the realization, again, he can't be cured after one ghost, or else we end things a little too early. So he inches forward, then we set him back. Where hey, reluctantly, he's giving into the chase, and he's kind of for a moment forgetting things. But of course, if we're talking about Batman's past, it would be really wrong if we did not acknowledge, hey, Batman thinking about his past is not going to be a happy thing
Of
because,
course,
of course, when he falls, we cut to the origin of losing his parents, and I love how in kind of the Christmas Carol parable, it's tantamount to Scrooge losing his sister with the birth of the nephew.
And I like how it doesn't really dwell on it either. It's like he gets to that place, but like the story doesn't let him linger in that place.
This is me reading into things, but I'd like to think, Tiki, that when he makes that jump and he grabs that gargoyle and the gargoyle snaps, that's the symbol of Gotham falling apart without the optimism without the mess, it's without optimism and in desperate need of repair, which only Batman can bring it once he's in a more optimistic headspace. So gargoyle snap leads to a really bad fall. My God, when he falls, you feel it. But thankfully, Ghost Christmas present, ready to patch him right up. That's Superman.
Yeah, so I really adore Superman's role here. I really think that he's a great kind of a great choice for the Ghost of Christmas Present. I think he's just like obviously like the most optimistic kind of Santa Claus-esque figure of the DC universe. I love the way that the colors come into the comic at the moments where it just feels darkest. But I also love the way that Superman also kind of imparts a painful and important moral into Batman. So there's a lot of different layers to our Superman character here.
Yeah, I mean, of course,
not a lot of screen time, and that's the thing, is that this thing is very quick in and out, and I feel like every ghost, much like a good Christmas story adaptation should be, or I'm sorry, Christmas Carol adaptation should be. Every ghost gets a very significant chunk of time. They get memorable stuff. They get memorable stuff to do, but they don't overstay their welcome at all.
Absolutely. And also, again, for me, with Muppet Christmas Carol particularly, you have kind of a little bit of a friendship develop between Ghost of Christmas Present and Scrooge. And you kind of have that classic with the Batman-Superman friendship here, where it's a little reluctant at first, but, the idealism and the hope of the Superman kind of rubs off on Batman here, kind of sands away some of the gristle,
Oh.
It's because Superman, again, who better for a bigger than life symbol and friendliness of that ghost than Superman? And basically, we have like a great way of conveyance for our story too. Okay, how is Batman gonna get from point A to point B with kind of the ghost like kind of teleportations and everything? Well, Superman can fly him around places, so it makes sense. So it's like, hey, I want to check in on the sting operation he got going on. So we see that again. You get to see, by the way, during this part, you get to see Tim kind of growing on Batman here, where he says like the Merry Christmas Dad card with a little drawing of Batman on it.
Oh my God, that card fucking broke my heart. Just legitimately, Dragon. It really did.
And I love Superman calling Batman out on the whole scare him straight plan here. Like, I don't think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, Dragon, it is legitimately like the closest that I have seen Batman come to going over the line while still just having enough humanity to know not to cross said line.
Certainly. So, then we have Superman reminding Batman of, some compassion and optimism by kind of showing him other Christmases in Gotham. And again, very much kind of like that opening of Christmas with the Joker, where like Robin's saying, look at how good look how good off the city is right now. We don't have to do anything this holiday season before the Joker hijacks things. We have like families together. We have some homeless people being really, kind of cordial to each other around the holidays. Hope for Gotham. Then we have the scene that gets me in the feels.
Oh God.
We have Commissioner Gordon here inviting a cop into his home.
Oh man, this is rough, man. This is like the conversation behind closed doors that you as a Gordon fan never want to hear. It's like, it's a realistic possibility, but you never actually want to see it confirmed. It's like Gordon has very real, very understandable, very human doubts about Batman.
Well, he's always had that. Gordon, that's the thing of that alliance, though. Gordon has faith in
I
Batman, but
know
he
he
knows.
always has had that, and we've always known he's had that. But Dragon, there's a difference between always knowing that he's had doubt and him vocalizing the doubt.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. But I also love I completely forgot about this in the writing. There's this really adorable line that Gordon has. I think just it's such a beautiful way of summing up their relationship here, where Gordon points out, Batman walks a line he could lose sight of. And I like to think maybe on the prescription he needs to see that line clearly.
Uh-huh.
Which I thought, oh my god, Gordon always wearing the glasses, like, oh man, that is so cute. Yes, that's a great way of symbolizing that. Yes, and again, this celebrates why it's a very on brand acknowledgement of why the Batman Gordon dynamic works. And then Gordon will take Batman down if he has to, but he hasn't had to, and he seemed like he fears every night he's going to go a little too far. And again, this is the call out that Batman needs right now, so he doesn't go over that line, so because he's inching towards it. So this is a very good stop, Superman. Good on you.
Sure.
That was just pleasant. Gordon like inviting cops on the beat into his house the holiday season. It's nice.
Totally.
All right, so again, with our transitions, Tiki, just the hit. I think the best transition in the whole book is just the immediacy of Superman drops Batman off because he offers him a lift home, and he just dropped me off at the car. He X-rayed him and everything after the fall.
Superman's just like, no, I don't think so. I think I'm going to take you on a vision quest to save your life instead, buddy.
So, by the way, fun fact: obviously, Superman reminds him, encourages him to get soup and everything, and all that sort of stuff. And also, Alfred earlier in the book, which again, Alfred calling out, like, I don't know, like, I don't know about this plan about putting this kid in danger either. There's Alfred moralizing as he should. I love that with the cough that's throughout the whole book. Like when Jim Gordon says, "You should really get that cough checked out," right before the bad exit. If Commissioner Gordon, the guy who's known for smoking out of stress, is telling you your cough check, you're in trouble. So then Superman does it anyway. So after Superman drops him off and he flies back to Metropolis, like that instant, he unlocks the Batmobile, bang, huge explosion, Ghost of Christmas Future has made his entrance. And of course, the irony of Mask of the Phantasm is not lost on me, where Joker's big description of the Phantasm looks more like the Ghost of Christmas Future.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Joker being the Ghost of Christmas Future. So piggybacks off that Jim Gordon scene.
This, of course, we do see like the deep scars on the sides of his lips, and it's very visceral.
So again, that's pretty much what he looks like in the Joker book that came before this. So that's exactly how it looks like. You can almost say it's in the same canon, practically.
Uh-huh.
So again, I love the choice of Joker as Christmas Future outside the obvious of like, hey, well, he's kind of a symbol of death anyway in Gotham, but it's the fact that coming off of that Gordon scene about worrying Batman's going to cross a line is that this is the fear. The fear is that Batman, if he kills someone, he will be the next Joker. So seeing Joker as Batman's fear of the future is very valid.
Uh-huh. Totally.
Yep. And also very integral to the crisis at hand, and he killed Jason Todd, so it all connects to Joker.
And then also not just Batman going down, but people like Gordon going down for being accomplices. I think that's one of the big things that fucks him up.
Yeah, it's like, oh, no. He knew, but he made us.
I mean, it's like a house of cards, Dragon. It's a house of cards of just like all these people that were like there's a line in the book. I can't quote it phrase by phrase, but it says something along the lines of like all these people ever wanted to do was help you, and in the end, all they ever were punished for it.
Yep, Gordon on trial and Alfred losing Wayne Manor and having to see it all being auctioned off.
Oh God, Alfred having to see the Wayne Manor fucking art pieces get auctioned off. Oh,
yeah, seeing the ancestral home auctioned off piece by piece.
Dragon, that was some Darren Aronofsky levels of trauma right there.
Oh, for sure. So let's see. So again, one of the most brilliant things in the adaptation is it's such a great idea of let's take the encounter, let's just minimize but make it really impactful. Let's take, the big scared straight moment for Scrooge of like we're going to take him to the cemetery to see his own name, but let's take that the next step. Let's take it a step further here. We're going to turn to a Batman death trap. Instead, remember when Scrooge is thrown to that fire pit or he's buried alive? Let's make that the death trap. Let's just see if like Scrooge can get himself out of that. Like no waking up or anything. Like okay, so Joker has dragged Batman to a cemetery, thrown him in a grave, and buried him alive with the tombstone. Here lies Batman, died boring and predictable, and nobody loved him. Just insult to injury and all that. Anyway. But yeah, it's Batman just kind of having that horrible nightmare of the future, and basically like the idea is like if he scared Tim straight, Tim would become like almost like a Sons of Batman from Dark Knight Returns, like these vigilantes, like yeah, let's kill him, let's beat
right. It'd basically be kind of like almost like a Mad Max style Gotham of just like vigilantism kind of like ruling the day and kind of like a dog eat dog kind of society.
Yeah, it's a little Dark Knight Returns meets Batman Beyond because you have like the Joker's gang from Batman Beyond. You have just kind of the gang that's inspired by Batman, like Tim in this case, and it's there with tattoos and bats and everything. Yeah, it's horrific, and just I buy that as Batman's fear, leaving Gotham worse off after he's gone. That's Batman. That would absolutely be Batman's fear. Like I didn't help Gotham at all. I disappointed my parents. I brought shame to the name and everything. I ruined everyone's lives.
Totally.
So motivation for him to come back from the dead. Well, just being buried alive. He does that. All right, so we have a climax, which we usually don't have in A Christmas Carol. Yeah, this is really cool. It's a very we have a very shining entrance of the Joker, almost like as Santa Claus, ho ho ho, just like crashing in there.
Oh God, and Dragon, like I said, I was so worried for the freaking kid, and then going down to the freaking father, I was just like, oh, I don't want anything bad to happen to these people, man. God, please, writers, spare me.
It would absolutely be Batman's fault in this case, where
I know that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
And just seeing the tension is so palpable, man. Just seeing like Bob in the corner, like he's ready to attack the Joker with like probably a bat or something, whatever he has handy. Like, he is nowhere near. Like he knows this will not go well, and his son like in direct peril. And this Joker coming like with gifts, and the gifts are all implements of murder and torture, and he's like phrasing it like looking for his money like a game of Clue, which is really clever. So yeah, it's the fine point on the moral with like a little action, just to show you why Batman needs his optimism back here. So when he crashes through that glass, man, it's saving Bob and Tim. It's so it's so satisfying. Is it like
it is like honestly kind of like one of the ultimate kind of like holy grail moments of Batman saving people by crashing through a window. You know what I mean?
And instead of scaring the boy straight, it's like he's providing the boy with salvation.
Totally.
Then we have the ultimate moment. My God, this is where the feels come out, man. Bob has a gun on the Joker. He's within his rights to kill this clown, man. One could argue. But Batman talking him down, saying, listen, you're not a criminal. Show your son what kind of man you are. And that's beautiful. He gave him like the ultimate
Dragon. Basically, up until like as soon as this whole thing starts, up until the end of the comic, I am in tears. Like I'm not even exaggerating.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah.
And again, like he's tempered the nightmare of Gotham. He's turned the nightmare of Gotham, which is people like criminals breaking down your front door, and he's turned it into like an aspiring father-son moment. That's the gift that Batman's bestowed upon Bob here. It feels like he's disappointing his son. Remember like that earlier scene with Bob where he kind of snapped at his kid for a second because he's expecting Batman or the Joker to break down his door, and he's like, I'm sorry, son, what do you want to show me? It's like there's so many levels to this guy. So seeing him get that moment to kind of be a hero in his son's eyes, and Batman gave that to him. That was something nice.
Totally.
We round things out with the ending here where, Gordon, he looks up and they have the bat exit right there. Oh, Batman did what he's walking that line. He's got his prescription. He's doing okay. All right. So then we have, like a quiet day for the GCPD. That's Gordon's gift there. We have Joker in a straitjacket, which I like to think is a nod to Christmas with the Joker because it ends with him in the straitjacket in Arkham. And much like Old Wounds, Bruce Wayne employs Bob and brought him like a Christmas feast and a giant tree and everything.
So this just, Dragon, it killed me with kindness. It really did. I was just like, by the time I was over, I was just like, oh my God, it's so nice. It's so nice.
They put a fine point on the narrator's Bob, like finishing the story to his son, who's like, I think he's like about to fall asleep or something, like just like, and that's what happened.
So yeah, Dragon, suffice to say, I mean, like I'm not like totally just like a scholar of Batman by any means. I've pretty much just read the the Scott Snyder stuff that you've told me to read. But this is just is like a standalone piece. I really think flows really well. The art is just vivid and amazing. I love the deconstruction of all the Charles Dickens Christmas Carol tropes. I love that they still managed to set it in the modern day Batman mythology, and yet still have it be so close to the Christmas Carol mythos. So yeah, Dragon, I'm gushing about this thing, man. This thing really exceeded expectations. I walked in not knowing much about it at all, besides just like it's going to be like some sort of Batman Christmas story. Like for all I knew, it was going to be like a Mr. Free story or something. But no, Dragon, this is a just really fantastic way to tie Batman into the holidays.
Yeah. I mean, just the final thoughts. It's a refreshing take on A Christmas Carol. It does right by the Batman, and it's nice to see what Bermejo is capable of left to his own devices. This is a passion project for him. My God, he delivered.
All right, so Dragon, we're going to go to the Batman to the Fat Man. Would you like to tee up our next seasonal shenanigan?
So when you do something naughty and you get on Santa's bad side? Well, if you're a spoiled rich kid, you might want to get even, and but you might want to get even. You might want to hire a hitman played by Walton Goggins. But you don't expect Mel Gibson as a really dramatic Santa Claus. You don't expect that. So we'll see how that one goes when we unwrap it.
All right, I'm nervous about that one, Dragon. It's probably out of the lineup. It's the one I'm the most nervous about. So we'll see how it goes.
We'll see how you like it. We'll see. All right, folks.
All right. So Dragon, take us out, buddy.
All right, folks. Time to dash away all. But as we wave goodbye, don't you cry. We'll be back again next time
for even more seasonal shenanigans.
Fa la 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 la
la. And thank LED for being in the comments. You rock, la.
God bless us, everyone.
Norman, I don't want Tiny Tim to die.